Welcome back to another video, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about Maggie Long. This is an incredibly sad story. This she was killed, but who did it? We have no idea. I want to say that there's not a whole lot of information. We'll get into that. Um, but this is just an incredibly heartbreaking one, especially when you hear what people have to say about her. And she just seems like a ray of sunshine. I know I describe a lot of my videos that way. This person just seems like a ray of sunshine, but she really did. And you're going to see it in the photos I threw up of her. She was incredibly beautiful. And it's so sad how early she was taken. All the links I used for research will be down below. And let's go ahead and get into Maggie's story. So, Maggie's friends and family actually describe her as having an ambitious spirit, a positive attitude, and a contagious laugh. Maggie's sister Connie says that when the family is with her friends, they feel Maggie's vibe and it's like they're with her again. Maggie should have turned 18 on December 17th, 2017, but she would never get that chance because on December 1st, 2017, Maggie had plans to go to a Christmas shopping with her sister and help with the annual concert at school. But her life would be cut short when she was brutally murdered in her own home. The night it happened, Maggie was supposed to be working the VIP lounge for a holiday concert at Platte Canyon High School, where she was a senior. Connie actually describes Maggie as an overachiever and always the first to volunteer. On the night of December 1st, 2017, Connie had left work and was headed to the concert. When she arrived, Maggie's friends asked for her, saying she hadn't showed up, and Connie says right away she had a gut feeling and that something wasn't right. She wouldn't have flaked because Maggie was very responsible. Connie called Maggie's cell phone, but it didn't go through and she got her voicemail instead. That's when something told her to drive over to the family's home in the mountain community of Bailey, Colorado. This is where Maggie had been set on fire and had burned alive in her own family's home. Connie says the closer she got to home, the worse her gut feeling was. She got as close as she could, and that's when she saw chaos. There were firefighters, fire trucks, and the house had burned. In the driveway was Maggie's car, and Connie knew something happened and that something had been bad. According to a press release by Park County Sheriff's Office, police responded to a house fire at the Longs' home around 7 p.m. after a 911 caller reported individuals causing a disturbance which led to the fire. Connie called family and friends and started to post on social media that Maggie was missing. However, hours later, the sheriff's office delivered the news to the family. Once the fire had been extinguished, fire personnel had discovered human remains among the ashes and that it was Maggie. According to a statement made by police, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, it's believed that Maggie walked in on a burglary of the home, and it's believed that she had went home to change clothes and gather snacks that she had prepared for the VIP lounge. The FBI says that investigative efforts have revealed a physical altercation took place between Maggie and her assailants before the fire started. They stole a Beretta handgun, an AK-47 style rifle, 2,000 rounds of ammunition, a green safe, and jade figurines. The El Paso County Sheriff's Office ruled her death a homicide, and authorities later revealed composite sketches of 3 men believed to be involved. It's believed they were driving a late 1990s to 2000s light-colored Chevy Astro van and a Ford pickup. No arrests were made, and no suspects have been named. Early in 2022, FBI announced that it's investigating her murder as a hate crime. This comes 3.5 years after her murder, and because she was an Asian American. Their parents were born in a Chinese community in North Vietnam and fled to the U.S. during the Vietnam War. The parents owned several area restaurants and were well known in the community. Connie says this is an angle that actually surprised her because her family hadn't ever noticed any overt Asian discrimination when they had lived in the community. And I have a direct quote from Connie that I saw in an article. And she says, "It isn't something we had thought about in the past, but knowing how awful the crime was, and knowing the details of the crime scene, it makes sense that this was caused by hatred, by someone who thought of us as less than human." End quote. So this next tidbit of information I found really interesting because a previous video I had talked about a deck of cards that they put in prisons with cases, unsolved cases, for information. And Maggie was actually put on a four of spades in a card deck. And like I said, state prison systems and local law enforcement agencies will replace the faces of traditional playing cards with images of missing and murdered people, and then they are distributed throughout prisons in the hopes that someone will recognize the case and come forward with info, and it has worked a few times. But I don't think anything came of it in this situation, but it was interesting to note because I had heard about her case before, but I had never heard about her actually being put on a playing card, which was really interesting to me. But 5 years after her murder, law enforcement have actually hand-delivered requests for help. CBI agents and Park County Sheriff's Office personnel handed out flyers at businesses telling each person who passed by that they are trying to see if they've seen anybody out there who might have remembered anything about her murder. Detective Sergeant Wendy Kipple of the Park County Sheriff's Office says, quote, "We're hoping to prime any memories they might have that maybe they were afraid to talk to us at that time or forgot about it, and they might remember something, no matter how small," end quote. There actually is a reward in this case for someone who has info that could lead to an arrest and conviction of some kind, and that is a reward of $75,000 last time I checked. So if you have any information, you can call 303 239 4243, and that is a tip line, or you can actually contact in this email, which is Maggie dot, like period, Maggie period long period tips at state period co dot or period us. I'll have it in the ending with a phone number like I always do. And you can remain anonymous. And actually, to date, there have been at least 237 tips reported in this case. I have thrown up sketches of the people they believe are involved in this. If you know who these people are, if they even look familiar, please consider sending in a tip. It's wild that this is still unsolved. And when I was doing my research, I couldn't find, like, if they had found any evidence. I don't know if that's something they've released. I think there's just really nothing that they were able to find because, I mean, her home did burn, and that's where she was, and maybe that burned any evidence there could have been. So I don't know if it's like they're just relying on the sketches of these men or what, but that is currently all we have, or maybe they just haven't released any information. So like I said, if they look familiar to you, you think you know who it is, reach out, let someone know, because this family desperately wants answers. They need answers. They deserve answers. It's so heartbreaking that she died so young. She didn't get the chance to even graduate. All she wanted to do was go get a change of clothes and go back to doing what she was doing. And three people decided that it was necessary to take her life. And what really interested me was the hate crime angle, because it does make sense that they would rule this a hate crime but it kind of makes you wonder, like, what else led to this being a hate crime? Like, what do they know about the physical altercation? Like, had she, like, encountered these men before? It just kind of makes me wonder what evidence they have that would lead them to that conclusion, other than she is an Asian American. Like I said, considering how heinous this crime is and knowing the details, it does make sense that it would be ruled a hate crime. I'm just curious, um, because I feel like there's plenty of cases where it feels like it should be a hate crime, but then it's just not ruled as one. So I'd be really interested to know, like, what else made them decide to change it to a hate crime, especially 3.5 years later, and whether or not it was just like a push to put this case back out there. But 5 years later, they were still, hand delivering requests for help. So they're definitely still pushing for answers. I feel like it is kind of a long shot that anyone would remember anything, especially this far out now, but it's always worth the chance. Uh, and I feel like we just need to talk about Maggie. We just need to put her name out there, and hopefully that one day soon her case will be solved. I do think it's solvable. I do think we will get justice for her one day. I think it's just gonna take a little bit of time. I have a feeling that there's just going to be that little piece of evidence that's gonna click somewhere, and they're gonna have the answers. We just don't know when, but I do feel like it could happen, and I really hope it does. I hope it happens sooner rather than later. But that is what I have for you guys on Maggie Long. I'm sorry about the lack of info. Like I said, I just couldn't really find like evidence or like what they have done to find these people other than what I've told you about. And maybe they're just keeping it under wraps, but I just couldn't find it. But I will have my links that I used for research down below. Like I said, I know that Danielle Hallen I reference her all the time, but she did a video on it. It was an incredible video. You should definitely check it out. Um, but yeah, that's gonna be all for me today, guys. If Maggie's family sees this, I'm so sorry about what happened to her. Your friend, your daughter, your sister, she just looks like a ray of sunshine. She sounds like one of the sweetest people ever. And she should have been able to turn 18. She should have been able to graduate high school. She should have went on to do amazing things that, from what I heard about her doing my research, she could have done it. And I'm sorry that she didn't get that chance, and I hope you all find the justice that you so desperately deserve. And I'm really sorry. And for my audience, I will be keeping an eye on this case. I will be monitoring it every once in a while just to see if something changes. And if there is a change, I will let you guys know. But thank you again for listening to this video, listening to her case, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.